الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. So we now move on inshallah ta'ala to the next chapter in Kitab al-Salah. And I had a request to also have some time for Q&A today, and Brother Hasnain also sent some questions inshallah via email. So we will pause a little bit earlier so that I can do these questions as well inshallah ta'ala, and also questions for you guys as well. So let us begin. Today we will finish up Babu Salat al-Tatawwu', the chapter of the salawat that are supererogatory, i.e. they are nafil salah. They are the salah that are not wajib. So in this section, all of the salawat that are not obligatory. So there are salawat that are obligatory other than the 5 daily salawats. These will not be discussed over here. So an example of a salah that is not of the 5 daily salah and yet it is obligatory is what? What is another salah that is obligatory? Jumu'ah. So Jumu'ah is a separate chapter. We'll do Jumu'ah another chapter. According to the Hanbali madhab, Eid is also wajib. So that is discussed in another chapter. Okay, Eid is wajib. And other madhabs say it is sunnah, but for the Hanbalis it is wajib. And therefore, because it is wajib, so it is discussed in a separate chapter. So this chapter is only about Salat al-Tatawwu', or the prayers that are not obligatory, and therefore, if you don't pray them, then you are not sinful for not praying them. And there is a lot of ikhtilaf amongst the madhahib about the categories of tatawwu', and for our purposes we're sticking with the Hanbali madhab. And as I said, it's always good to begin with the madhab, master the madhab, and then once you understand one conception, you can move on. So from the Hanbali madhab, وَهِيَ عَلَى خَمْسَةِ أَضْرُبٍ, and there are 5 types of tatawwu', 5 types of non-wajib salawat. Number 1 of the 5, Sunan Al Rawatib. Sunan Al Rawatib. These are the routine sunnah prayers. The routine sunnah prayers. Okay? So the Sunan Al Rawatib are the prayers that are linked with the 5 salawats. The definition of the Rawatib is the prayers that are linked with the 5 salawat, either before or after them. Okay? These are the Sunan Al Rawatib. And the Hanbali madhab and the Shafi'i madhab and the Maliki madhab says that these are 10 raka'at. And the Hanafi madhab says they are 12 raka'at. Okay? So the Shafi'is, the Malikis and the Hanbalis, they say Sunan al-Rawatib are 10 in number. And the Hanafis, they say they are 12 in number. As for the 3 majority, the reason that they say it is 10 in number is because of a hadith of Ibn Umar muttafaq alayh, which the author mentions. That عشر ركعات حفظتهن من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. 10 are the raka'at that I memorized from the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. And then he goes on and he lists them. ركعتين قبل الظهر وركعتين بعدها وركعتين بعد المغرب في بيته وركعتين بعد العشاء في بيته وركعتين قبل الفجر. These are 10. 2 before Dhuhr, 2 after Dhuhr, 2 after Maghrib, 2 after Isha, and 2 before Fajr. This hadith is Bukhari and Muslim muttafaq alayh. Because of this hadith, it is the most authentic hadith in this regard. So they said that the number of rawatib are 10, excuse me. As for the Hanafis, they also use an authentic hadith, which is the hadith of Habiba. And the hadith of Habiba mentions that the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever prays 12 raka'at daily, Allah will build for him a palace in Jannah. And then he lists them, or the hadith, lists them. And in this hadith, it says 4 before Dhuhr. So everything is the same except that Dhuhr has 4 before it. So the majority, which is the 3 madhabs, they say that the hadith of Habiba demonstrates that you can pray 4 if you want. But the hadith of Ibn Umar demonstrates that what is the regular is the 10. Okay, so the 3 madhabs say the 10 is the regular. And the Hanafi say 12 is the regular. And inshallah, fi kullin khair, and there's no doubt that the Hanafi position in this case is the safer one. And it's not as if the other 3 say don't pray the extra 2. It's simply that what are the rawatib? They will say these 10. And the Hanafis say, what are the rawatib? They will say the 12. And the difference is basically how many are before dhuhr. That's the difference, okay? So the Hanafis say there are 4 before dhuhr, and the other 3 say there are 2 before dhuhr. Otherwise, the concept of Sunan Al Rawatib is something that is agreed upon, and all of the madhahib basically agree upon it. So this is the first of the categories. And he mentions these 2, and then he says, in particular, وحدثتني حفصة أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إذا طالع الفجر وأذن المؤذن صلى ركعتين. So the Prophet ﷺ, when Fajr was already called, after the Adhan, he would pray 2 raka'at. And Ibn Qudama, the author, says, وَهُمَا آكَدُهُمَا. And these 2 raka'at are the most important of the Sunan Al Rawatib. And so therefore the Sunan Al Rawatib are not of the same category. And of the Sunan Al Rawatib are that which is the most important, and these are the 2 raka'at of Fajr. Because in one hadith, our Prophet ﷺ said, the 2 raka'as of Fajr are more blessed than this whole world and all that is in it. The 2 raka'as of Fajr are more blessed than this whole world and all that is in it. And in another hadith, he said, pray them even if the enemy is chasing you on their horses. It's an expression in Arabic. No matter how tight your circumstances, make sure you pray the sunnahs of Fajr. And therefore, the Hanafis make these 2 sunnahs even more important. And they say even if Fajr Salah is going on, so then the back you should pray 2 sunnahs. And of course the others say they are not wajib. They cannot be wajib, or else they would become the actual Fajr Salah. Rather they are sunnah, but these 2 sunnahs are the most important sunnah. And for these 2 we also learn ويستحب تخفيفهما وفعلهما في البيت أفضل وكذلك ركعتا المغرب. And these 2 raka'at, it is recommended that you make them very short. And it is also recommended that you pray them at home. And the same applies to the 2 raka'at of Maghrib, that they should be short and you should pray them at home. And the evidence for this is the hadith reported by Aisha radiallahu anha, in which she said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed the 2 rak'at of Fajr, and I was asking myself, did he even read Fatiha or not in those 2 rak'at? So Aisha saying, I was asking myself, did he even read Fatiha? Which means Aisha was questioning this length, how quick is it? And she was wondering, did he even have time to read the Fatiha? And in another hadith we learn that our Prophet ﷺ would read Surah Al-Kafirun and Surah Al-Ikhlas, which is not his custom and habit to read small surahs. He would generally read long surahs. So the fact that he's reading Kafirun and Ikhlas in both the raka'at of Fajr and the raka'at of Maghrib demonstrates that those 2 sunnahs, it is sunnah to make them quick and short. So the 2 rak'at of Fajr and the 2 rak'at of Maghrib, the sunnah is to make them swiftly. And by swiftly we don't mean that the arkan are not met of being calm. Quickly means smaller rak'at. Quickly does not mean your motion increases speed. This is a common misunderstanding which I think everybody should clear up immediately. When it says quickly, it doesn't mean you speed up moving up and down. Quickly only means it's a smaller recitation, that's it. Otherwise, in terms of ruku' and moving and staying there, coming up, coming back down, it is the same in terms of the gentle calmness as is to be expected in the salah. So these are the Sunan Al Rawatib. So we said there are 5 types of nafil. The first of them is Sunan Al Rawatib. And as I said, the definition of Sunan Al Rawatib, those salawat that are linked to the 5 prayers, either before or after.
فيا ذلي ويا خجلي إذا ما قال لي ربي أما استحييت تعصيني ولا تخشى من العتب وتخفي الذنب عن خلقي وتأبى في الهوى قربي فتب مما جنيت عسى تعود إلى رضا الرب تعود إلى رضا الرب